Spoox, episode, I think this is number 3 of Fat Chats. Really wanted to bring you in because you are leaving us soon. You've been with, how long have you now been at Studio 278 for?
Since what, August, September? Yeah,
August, yeah.
August.
Too long. Too long. You've been annoying us since then. So I wanted to have a chat. I wanted the viewers to see what you're about. You got some exciting news to share as well. So we'll get into it. So I want to know a little bit about you. So whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in Townsville. Yeah. Um, yeah, pretty stock standard. Um, yeah, went to a Catholic primary school. Raced BMX for probably 7 years or
Yeah.
something like that.
Into like early teens or late teens?
Yeah, mid teens sort of
Yeah.
thing. Air cadets, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
So
You enjoy that?
yeah, it was cool.
What rank did you get to in that?
Basically stayed as normal,
Yeah.
just cadet.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful. And is that what sparked your military passion, or does it go back further than that?
I think the military passion pretty much comes from aeroplanes, I suppose, first and foremost, and war movies. That'd be the two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, how long have you been tattooing for?
Uh, just over 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
And how long was your apprenticeship?
Yeah, well,
Like,
I
it's
mean,
different for everyone, but
yeah, I mean, I suppose I didn't technically have a uh, traditional apprenticeship
yeah,
of 4 years, I suppose.
if there's such a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you've got your sort of 4 year cooling off period, I
Yeah,
suppose. It's sort of you would still class that as an apprenticeship.
true,
You know,
true.
up until that 4 years, it's you know, you tattooing different parts of the body, and
Mm,
that it's going to take you 4 years to pretty much tattoo nearly everywhere and get
all of it.
like iron the creases out at
Yep.
least, you know. So I'd say that's still like your standard 4 year.
So
Yeah.
in that 13 years, you've obviously done a lot with your career, but what got you into tattooing? Because I know that's like you obviously went to, is it digital arts school as well?
Yeah, so I ended up going to Brisbane, got an advanced diploma in visual communication, which is pretty much graphic design at the
Yep.
time. Um, Look, tattooing was something that I always wanted to get into, even in the early days. I remember going around here in Townsville, and there was only two shops at the time.
What were they?
They were Silver Spur and Second Skin.
Yeah, right.
So,
Oh, wow. So they've been around for a long time.
yeah, yeah, they're the two oldest
Yeah,
shops.
yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, I guess I was young. You know, I was only, you know, just 18. Um, wasn't long after I got my first tattoo, and was heavily into freestyle motocross
yeah.
at the time,
Oh, yeah.
and they were all getting heaps of tattoos. You know, your freestyle guys and your band
Yeah.
guys. You know, with heaps of metal and that sort of stuff. It's sort of like they say, heaps of tattoos in your face all
You
the
need
time.
it. Yep.
I thought, it's pretty good at art, I suppose, and I like the whole tattoo. I thought, I'll try and get into. It wasn't very, didn't get a very warm welcome to start with, because
Yeah.
it's like at the era it was in the late '90s.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, you need to go away and really work on, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Hard ass. Yeah.
and it's sort of, I guess, the old girl was like, well, you can't just, you got to do something, you got to figure out something you got to
Yeah.
do. So that's when I sort of thought, she brought up graphic design. It was a good course
Yeah.
in Brisbane for 2 years full time. So,
I have seen some of your work on your iPad, your digital work, and it's incredible. Like the colors that you use. Um, you do commissions for that, don't you?
hmm.
So,
Yeah, I'll do commit. It sort of depends on, um, uh, you know, everything has to sort of get put into some form of monetary thing as well.
true.
Like it's got to be worth the time. Like a lot of people don't really want to pay for the, and I suppose that's the beauty of tattooing is
Yep.
people are far more likely to pay for money, that kind of higher price money for tattoos because
Yep.
they feel like they're altering themselves. But if you said, do you want to spend the same amount on like a piece of art for the wall,
Yeah.
they're more likely to hold back on that,
True. No, you're very right. You're
Mm.
very right. We do have some beautiful pieces. In particular, my favorite is you did that shop logo for your mate's mechanic shop with
Hmm.
the, is it Mickey Mouse or Daffy
Oh yeah, the speed shop
speed
in
shop?
yeah,
But whereabouts is
yeah,
that one? The speed shop? That's not
Alberta in Canada.
gonna say it was
Mm.
not up here. I haven't seen any mechanic with a groovy logo like that, so I love it. So
Yeah.
um, what else was I gonna say? So you mentioned military passion. You want to talk a bit more about that, like
Sure.
because that will tie us into your amazing shop
Hmm.
and the idea behind the shop. Something a particular type of tattoo theme that I just haven't heard of. And as soon as I came here, and when you mentioned you're opening up a shop and you're gonna have a museum as well,
Hmm.
it's exciting. So tell us a bit more about your yeah, eh, when did you start collecting military equipment?
Hmm.
And yeah, let us know.
Um, so I think initially, like my parents owned an auction center when I was growing up. Secondhand dealers, antique furniture, all
Here
that.
in Townsville?
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah. Mum still has well, it's the second-hand shop now. Dad since passed, and he was the main auctioneer, so they don't do the auctions anymore.
yep.
Um, and there was a guy by the name of Gary Williams, the Williams family here in Townsville, and he used to bring me a few bullet shells. He knew I kind of liked that sort of stuff when I was a kid, so he'd bring me a few bullet shells and that in, and then I don't know, kind of just went from there. He sort of would see that I was excited, and the next time he'd bring me like something a bit bigger, and then it'd be a 50 cal
Yep,
shell, and then
yep,
he'd bring me a 20 millimeter shell or
yep,
something like that, and it just sort of grew from there, I suppose. That I say that was the first real military sort of collecting. It got a bit of a bug
yep,
for it.
yep.
Um, Dad was a pilot. He was into warbird aircraft, so I got into that when I was early. Massive aircraft fan. Um, so obviously war aircraft again it's war movies. Um, Dad was big on his westerns and war movies.
And if
So
anyone thinks that military planes, aircraft is boring, they have not experienced a proper flyover.
no, and I'll say that even when I used to go to Winter Nationals in Brisbane, you got top fuel dragsters that do 4.5, 5 second passes down the quarter. When the F-111 had come down the strip low doing dump and burn over the top, I mean, it's still on another level
Oh,
again. That
it's
the
immense.
average person who doesn't really think much about planes can still just go.
Um, yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I didn't grow up. I was obviously, as you know, in the military for what, 10 years.
Yeah,
Um, and I had thought I'd seen it all, been on the helicopters, done this and that, but still to this day, like even I was on a jet ski heading over to Maggie, and we had five Air Force fighter jets fly over,
yeah,
pass us, do a lap of Maggie, and then come within. I'm going to say it was low. I'm not going to. I'd make up a number, and it's going to sound unrealistic. I was
yeah.
going to say 2 meters. It was probably more so
Yeah, it
like
would be more
50
than
or
that.
so,
Yeah,
but it was.
feel like
I
2 meters.
just I wanted to grab my phone and take a video, but I just wanted to take it in because I
Yeah,
knew that I was never gonna. Yeah, it was ridiculous. They just came in, and you could just see the ripple on the water as it came past, and it just made me feel like a little boy. I was like, that's excitement that I haven't had for a long time. Oh,
Yeah.
it is amazing. And I used to head to for because I worked at Defence Force recruiting for a little bit, and we always set up a store at the Avalon. Um,
Oh, Avalon Air Show.
yeah.
Yeah,
So have
yeah.
you done anything with them before?
I haven't. No, Dad went to Avalon a few times, and yeah, I haven't had a chance to get down.
It's
Mm,
brilliant. So do yourself a favor, head there because it's unreal. It's
yeah,
for
I've
me.
strangely enough done the most amount of air shows in the US. So yeah, not here, but
Would they be better? Would you say
oh, absolutely, yeah.
there's less
Only
little?
because they've got everything locally there, everything from B-17s, all your World War Two
Yes.
bombers, your World War Two fighters, all that, plus their top end
Yeah.
military aircraft as well. So not saying Australia don't have it, but when you've got 320 something million people over there, and you've got the population
You've got
you
the
do,
numbers.
and the
Yeah.
firepower they do, it's pretty wild. Wild
Can only
west.
imagine. What is the aircraft called that the US use that look like they're from Area 51? What's those? They're like look like a UFO, and they're like faster than fighter jet. What are those? What's the?
Yeah, not sure.
Ah,
Yeah, got me,
I
got
could
me
have.
there. I'm not
I'll go into a black hole tonight on the web, but it was I forget what they're called, but they're like the next level future of
okay.
aircraft, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've been a little bit distant lately with some of the real like newer stuff like that, but obviously,
I'm
that
sure if I found a name, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's not new. That's old shit." So,
yeah, yeah.
so which brings me into you mentioned you are a part of the NQ MRC.
hmm
So, what does that stand for, and how long have you been a part of that for?
It's North Queensland Military Reenactors and
Yeah,
Collectors. I'm not a reenact. It's more reenacting, but there's a lot of collectors in the reenacting scene because they obviously collect as well.
yeah.
I've never really been big on sort of dressing up and reenacting stuff, and it's not really my
Outside
my
the bedroom, of course.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not really my thing. I mean, collecting's where
yeah.
my
Passion.
sort of passion is, and they need collectors as well because when they sort of do the show, there's a big amount of collection in there,
Yeah,
and then that the reenactor guys kind of walking around with it.
they'd love it. They'd love it.
Yeah, we've had a few current military guys also.
Oh, really?
Trevor Couch, he
Yeah,
was a warrant officer up here for ages, and he's got a really big World War Two like reenacting collection that
oh,
he used to. So, you know, people would see him outside of work
yeah.
from he was at Fifth Ave,
Oh,
and
far out. Yeah.
they'd see him over there dressed up. Oh, g'day, sir. I didn't know you like, dressing up in Normandy stuff on the weekend or whatever.
That's all. I think it's honestly, I think it's awesome. So,
A certain amount of equipment that you could hire to movie companies, for instance.
yeah.
Or
Do you have? Is that something? Is that
um,
worth asking or probably not?
yeah, I don't know. Possibly one day. I know the Beck family that I've purchased a lot of stuff off over the
Yeah.
years. Used to be here in Townsville, so Beck Road at Condon.
Yep. Yep.
It's named after the family. They moved up to
That's the one. Yeah.
B2.
B2. Is that what
Mm,
it's called?
yeah, been around
Ah.
for a long time.
So
Yeah,
it has
yeah.
it? Are they amazing?
Haven't seen one flying in real life, but haven't even seen one on the ground. Um, they've done a few flyovers at uh, NFL games and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. But there was
Right.
two here out here recently in Australia,
Yep.
down Brisbane way, flying around, and people were like, "Oh,
Oh,
what's that doing here?"
geez, I want to see it so bad. That would
Yeah,
be amazing.
yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. So where were we?
Yeah. So we'll
Where?
talk. Oh, we'll just asking if that would be worth.
Oh yeah, well the Beck family,
Yeah.
in Mariba, they hired a lot of their stuff to say the Thin Red Line crew
Yeah.
when they made the Thin Red
Oh.
Line Australia
Yep.
with
Oh. Yep.
Nicole Kidman and that when
Yep.
they filmed that.
Oh, that's
So they had a very extensive military collection
yeah.
that Sid would go around after the war and buy up all this old surplus that after the war it was going for cheap.
Yeah.
He would just buy it and
Jeez.
fire it and stuff.
So does the military equipment does it hold its value?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
obviously as time goes on, it will go up.
Like I
Not
was talking to someone the other day about, say the new Top Gun that came out, the original Top Gun. Like I've got three of the masks that they use in the original film, and I
yeah,
think when I was buying them back in maybe 2014, um, they were going for about 380, 400 pop.
yeah,
Now they're
yeah,
going for anywhere from 900 to 1200. That's US,
yeah,
and it's only because the new film has sparked all this interest with the original. People want to try and, oh, I might
yeah,
try and put an original Top Gun
yeah.
sort of thing together.
So, what's your thoughts on the new Top Gun?
I really liked it, man. I thought, considering how bad they could have messed that
Oh
up,
yeah,
I think if Tom's really got anything to do with stuff, he's a, a lot of people don't like him.
I
What
love him.
outside of what I don't really get into people's political views or
Yeah,
anything outside. If as an artist,
yeah.
as a movie star, as an actor, I really respect him. I like
He's,
his
I mean,
portfolio, and
he's essentially like the last movie rock star that we
well,
have, really.
he's all about trying to do as much of his own stunts as he can, which is
Yeah,
cool.
at his age, especially, it's ridiculous.
But
Like
he's a perfectionist,
he is, and he's good
so
at it.
he won't allow anything to sort of go out and unless he's 100% happy with it. I know people that you know.
The cringe factor, he definitely. Sometimes he says some stuff, and you're like,
Oh yeah,
far out. But fuck,
absolutely.
I love
Yeah,
him. I think he's fantastic.
yeah.
I
He's
love it.
unhinged.
Yeah,
But like I think the new Top Gun was delayed 2 years. One because he delayed it a year because he wasn't happy with everything had to be done
and he
perfectly
wanted
with it.
he wanted it to be in theaters. He wanted it to be big, and it
And
did. It did well.
COVID was the other one because when they were meant to release it was right at the peak of COVID. He's like, we release this now, we're not going to get people into the
Exactly,
cinemas.
and that's what he wanted, and that's what movies are all about. Cinemas.
Mm.
It sucks when you see a great movie. I mean, it's good for some people, but I personally think it's great to go into a cinema, watch it, put that money towards the industry.
And
Um,
that was needed to be seen on. It was filmed to be on the big screen,
in it,
and the
yeah,
sound and everything
it was
moving.
incredible. It was
Yeah,
incredible. I
that
loved
was
it.
cool.
I loved it. So the reason I wanted to talk to you about the NQ MRC and your
Mm.
passion for military is because you're actually looking to do a museum as
Hmm.
part of your brand new tattoo shop that you've been working on now for since August.
Yeah, like nearly 6 months. Yep.
6 months. So the reason you've come to Studio 278 is because you're obviously you want to focus pretty a lot on the new shop build
Hmm.
and creating that and putting it together, which, as Aaron knows, takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of late nights, early mornings, and stuff. So you've been working here on the days that you are in on the days that you aren't working on the shop,
Yep.
which isn't a lot because you are working bloody hard to get it up and running. So when's the official opening of this brand new shop?
I'll be opening next month. So
Next month. So it's coming up
yeah,
pretty
no
quick.
official date
Yep,
yet, but
no official.
it's getting pretty close to the end now. So there's a few little things got to do, and then yeah, I'll be sort of putting some stuff up soon about next month.
When
So
did you decide opening up your own studio? When did that come about? Is it something that's always been in there that you've wanted to do, or?
not like I've been sort of really content with where I was at Dead Man's
Yep,
for a long time.
heard it's a great shop too.
Yeah, great shop, great crew,
Yep.
and I I've had a few things with death that's happened
Yep.
in more recent times. Good friend passed away from bone cancer a few years back, and another friend of mine lost his wife to a brain tumor. She was only fairly young, and then my dad passed away a couple of 2 years ago this February,
Yep.
and
Sorry.
yeah, and it was just a lot of that sort of stuff makes you sort of think, um, I've always wanted to do a museum of some description, but museums don't make any money.
Yep.
Um, and it was always this thing like maybe when I retire one day, I might do a museum. But that really just cemented there's no guarantee you're ever going to
Don't
basically
life's too
get to that
short.
age.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
um, the only way I can really display this and sort of showcase it um, in a environment that isn't going to cost me a lot of money as for overheads to have it in a
Yeah.
separate
Yeah.
location is to put it in the same location as the tattoo shop.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. So where you're generating income anyway.
right,
Yeah.
so it's not costing me really any money, extra money having that all there. It's in the place where
Yep.
I'm tattooing anyway,
Very true. Yep.
and then that way um, I've branded the tattoo shop around the military theme because it's got the military display in it. So I've
Yep.
actually used that to the advantage of the name, for instance.
So what is the name of the studio?
Garrison City Tattoo.
Garrison City Tattoo.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We're going to hear a lot of that because it is a beautiful shop. And as you know, with Studio 278, we like to do things a little bit different.
Hmm.
And I think by you opening up the shop with a museum as well, it's just, especially being such a huge garrison
Yeah.
area, it's gonna be popular. I
Yeah.
know I'm gonna be super keen to come in and check it out. I definitely want to get some ink from you. I love your colours,
Yeah.
so I cannot wait for it to open up next month. So and it's beautiful. I've seen the photos.
Mhm.
People are gonna have to wait to see it. And I'm guessing, have you? So you don't have an official opening, but are you going to do some sort of sh- shop warming? Are you going to have a little
Yeah.
party?
Yeah, I think I'll have some form of a shop warm. I think I'd like to just sort of have the older, you know, uh, friends and family, aunties, uncles,
Yeah,
that sort of the older
absolutely.
generation, probably just sort of maybe get them on a specific night so
Yeah,
they've got their own kind of, and then I might just have another smaller one with sort of, more of my age bracket.
yeah. So
People,
80s and 90s.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We'll
old
see if they
dinosaurs.
just don't do it during like bingo or
Yeah,
anything because that'll really stuff them. But I'd be keen to bloody check it out, man.
yeah. I
I'm
haven't really sort of completely figured out I'm going to do that yet, but
yeah,
yeah, like I was saying the year before, it's mainly the you know lot of lot of valuable stuff and
yeah,
um people are having drinks and stuff like that. It's a bit of I got to work out really how I'm going to be
yeah.
doing that, but yeah, like it's definitely on the cards. So.
Absolutely.
Mm,
And as you know, alcohol, tattoos, they don't really mix. So, but
yeah,
I mean, shop opening, but it's a brand new shop and it's your baby, so you don't want people picking up random. Oh, what's this? Well, that's a grenade. Oh,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
do you have a website or are you intending on starting a website for the shop?
yeah. Well, I have a website at the moment mainly for my military collection stuff as a sort of an online digital museum.
Yep,
And that was mainly made because I had no idea how long it was ever going to be before I could sort of have a public display.
yep, yep,
Now that I've sort of going to have a public display, it's I'm going to keep that, but I'd like to sort of divide it into sort of two, so it might sort of change that now to sort of more of the Garrison City tattoo
yeah,
page with the museum there.
yeah,
They can click on that and then they can still see everything that I've got there, just sort of merge it into sort of one and keep it
100%
fairly simple and just a
streamline it.
straightforward kind of
I
thing. Yeah.
like it. I like the idea.
Mm.
Um, So, a question I actually forgot to ask is, so you mentioned you're doing a military museum. Now, is this Australian only
I've r-
museum or?
yeah, okay, so the front section when you come in is basically Townsville at war.
Yep,
So everything in the whole first entry front section
yep.
is all either photos of Townsville during World War Two. Um, I've done a fair bit of metal detecting, so it's like all the stuff that I've found locally and
Oh,
pulled up out of the ground and
that's it.
cleaned and what, yeah. So
No.
um, stuff to do with sort of, for instance, a helmet that was found on Maggie Island up near the gun posts.
How deep was that found?
It was actually on the surface. Yeah,
How?
yeah, very rusted, but
Any
sitting on.
names on it or?
There's a name that you can just see underneath. I can't remember what it is. It's painted with white paint.
Smithy. It'd be Smithy or it'd be Woods.
Woods.
One of those.
Yeah. Um, so like things like that, I've really tried to just focus on, and I do have a pretty big focus on the Pacific conflict because that's our sort of. I'm not saying that. there wasn't plenty of Aussies that went and fought over in
Yeah.
Europe, and I guess with the Germans and that. But I suppose it's more,
Focusing on the Townsville.
yeah. I've got a lot of focus on like the Japanese threat,
Yep.
and I collect a lot of Japanese stuff anyway because I
And
just,
that'll be in the
yeah,
oh, that's
I love
awesome.
Japanese stuff, and
Yep.
um, you don't really get told a lot from the Japanese perspective. Um,
From
you
their
know,
perspective,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There was this vibe after the war that there was a massive dislike for the Japanese, and we're all humans, I suppose. We all get told to
What to do.
do what we need to do in times like that, and I think what a lot of people don't understand is the honorable side of the Japanese. The West doesn't really get that, you know, that sort of honor. That they don't really get giving your life up for it. That
Yeah.
I find the West are doing their best to try and stay alive,
Yeah.
as where like the Japanese, it
Live.
didn't matter
Yeah.
whether or not it came down to losing your life, as
Yeah.
long as you were basically
Res-
yeah,
It's
that's a
pretty.
hard
That's
sort of mental thing to kind of
yeah. But it's
comprehend.
beautiful, and at the end
Mm.
of the day, war's tragic.
Yeah,
It's
that's right.
horrible, and
Mm,
every side thinks or feels they're doing the right thing for their country. And I think at
absolutely.
the end of the day, to just go, I mean, yeah, they're the enemy in your when you're in the war, but as an outsider, um, yeah, they're just a lot of young people thinking or feeling like they're
A lot
doing
of
the right thing.
propaganda at the time too, like, I've got newspaper clippings and articles there, and the way that, like, I mean, the Japanese were brutal. I'm not
Yeah,
saying, but, like, both sides were brutal too. But
100%.
I think the way that they were sort of portrayed in the newspapers and, the cartoons and the propaganda
Yeah,
stuff, it just gave the average Australian person at the time like this thought about like what the Japanese were versus
and that's I
they're
guess
just
what's
they're just a human too, families and
yeah,
all the rest they got going on. So I think the mash of Australia versus sort of Japan during that time
yeah,
and the Japanese tattooing culture,
which is
I've got a
beautiful.
lot to
Yeah,
do with I've got some stuff with the Japanese
yeah.
tattooing stuff in there as
Oh,
well, and the
beautiful.
traditional like Americana
So it's well
aspect.
thought out. It sounds like you've given it a lot of thought,
Mm,
and it's just going to be beautiful. I'm super keen to see it.
mm.
I think, and the fact that it's not just Australian memorabilia and equipment, it's actually
Stuff from all around the world too. Yeah,
people absolutely love that.
yeah.
So it's me included. I'm a bit of a
Quite a lot of aircraft stuff because that is my passion,
mm,
and also that Townsville was the biggest Air Force base at the time,
yeah.
and the Americans come out here and
What's the
built.
biggest now, Ipswich or
I don't even know. Amberley, yeah, Amberley at Ipswich, possibly. I'd have to, I know Richmond's still got one.
yeah, true.
I'm not
That's where I'm
100%
from.
sure on that.
Oh, the Blue Mountains. So I used to always
F-18s at Richmond
yeah,
there.
yeah, throwback, eh? Oh,
Mm.
Richmond days. Well, I'm just trying to think what else I want to ask you. So, what's the best way a client can reach out to you that may have not ever been tattooed by you? What's the your preferred method?
Um, I mean, Instagram's easy. Yeah, all face like one of those things I was sort of discussing where you want to try and pool everything into one kind of like source. Unfortunately, sometimes if people are kind of forced to have to only contact you in one way, you can sort of potentially still lose.
Oh,
So
100%.
they'll contact you any way they want. I usually reply if they contact me via say Facebook or Instagram, then with can you please send me all your information and your
Yeah,
full whatever to my email address, give them my
emails.
email
Yep,
address, so then
yep,
I can sort of keep it all in one sort of spot, but they will make first point of contact,
yep.
usually however they want to.
Even
So
if
they can
you,
contact me any way they want,
and they
really.
really do, as
Mm,
I've come to realize, I've pretty clearly laid out how I prefer to be contacted
yeah.
for bookings. None of that includes please call me on my personal number. I was stupid enough to chuck it on the Google website, our Google shop page, thinking that it would only be used for emergencies like, hey, I'm running late. Can you let Meg know? Absolutely, I can. I didn't think people would be ringing up to say, hey, do you guys do body piercings? Are you guys open for a walk in? I want to do my back. Can you start this afternoon? Like, so as long as you don't chuck your phone anywhere,
Yeah,
you should be right. But
I'll
just
be I'll
I
be fine with
I
that
keep
one. Yeah.
posting stories. I upload it and I say, do not call me. I think every day. This morning I've had 6 missed calls from
Really?
people about the shop. So I need a call center. I honestly need to hook someone up somewhere
Yeah.
and answer these calls because it's annoying. So don't do that. But I think that's great. And you do in person consults. You do phone consults. They reach out to your social medias. What about just dropping into the shop? Is that another
That's
method? Are you
fine.
happy with that?
That's fine. Yep. I mean, smaller tattoos, they can, if it's just something small, sending a pic's easy enough. I don't really need a consult sort of for
Yep.
that. But, if you're ready to start a full sleeve or a full back project on someone, like always sit down with them.
You do.
Always want to,
And
I want
you're
to talk to them face to face and map out some stuff
Yeah,
and get that,
absolutely.
you know.
You're very creative. Like I'd love to show everyone your work, especially on your iPad, because it's beautiful. Like I just feel like sometimes colors aren't used correctly, and I feel like you just do a really good job of making them pop. Especially that Texas, is it Arizona sort of cacti pushed over sign. I just love
Yeah.
that speedrunner. I love that style, and you do it so beautifully.
I think that's more of the custom culture hot rod stuff that I've always grown up with
Yep,
as well. Route 66 and um, Ratfink
yep,
and Mr. Horsepower and cars. I was obviously into cars for a long time too. Still am,
absolutely.
but just
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I think all that and the colors that come with custom culture,
true.
bright pinstriping,
Yep,
bright yellows and greens and reds, and
beautiful.
I can't just be black and grey sort of when it comes to tattooing either.
Yep,
I need that bounce between the two, because there's something you can just. I love working in black and grey. It's clean,
yep.
easy to wipe away. Color's very thicker and a bit messier and takes a lot longer
A
but
lot
there's
more
there's
width
a
mix.
there's a satisfaction that comes with color that you can't get from black and grey too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you
So,
find it? Do you find it difficult to mix the colors, or have you over time just gone, I can do that? You know what to add to a color to make a particular color.
yeah, it's the dangerous thing about that sometimes. I'm not saying I don't do it. It's when you say have two caps of the same color behind each other, and you sort of don't wash out, and you kind of dip into the next color,
Yep.
and sort of it mixes in this almost like you're painting.
Yeah.
If it
Inside
gets
the.
bad scabbing, for instance, if it does,
Yep.
with the healing process, or something happens with the healing process where it dries out a bit, and it's sort of like you get some drop out in that area.
Yep.
Um, it's very difficult to kind of match that again
True.
because you don't know what color it is because you've kind of just been. But some of
Absolutely.
that real
Absolutely.
painting style, you know, but do do that, and then other guys will just have 60 ink caps out with, like, I'm talking every single color you can think of, and most of the colors in their stuff is almost like color by numbers.
Yeah. Okay.
So it all just flows into each other and blends, but they're actually technically using, and some of them will mix. They got
Yep.
little mixers, little
Yep.
electric mixers that they'll mix up like
Oh.
a couple of caps of, say, flesh tones,
Yep.
but they'll just a couple of drops of red and black in that, and they mix that. And
Oh.
um,
It blows me away. I'm not an
color's
artist.
very. I can't say that I am very experienced in real color realism.
Yep.
I can do some color realism stuff, but when it comes to like realism
Yep.
portraitures and stuff, I'd be more inclined to do more color realism say if someone did for instance, do a realistic color electric chair
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
like
I
that,
gotcha.
where you're
Yeah,
using
yeah, yeah.
timbers and metals and stuff.
So skin tones are a bit difficult. Skin tones on skin.
Skin tones and faces in general are always
Oh,
difficult.
I
Even in black and greys portraiture, you've got your work cut out
I'm not an
for you.
artist. It just blows me away. Like I did
Mm,
paint and sip on New Year's, and I struggled. I struggled. So to actually, and that was on a canvas. Imagine on
yeah,
someone's skin, and you guys do it each and every day. It's.
yeah,
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how. I'll never do it. I could never. I couldn't even if I did a 50-year tattoo apprenticeship, I still would not learn a thing because I'm just useless with that stuff. So another thing I wanted to ask you before we close up
hmm
is you've also mentioned you are pretty good at cover ups
hmm
as well. So talk to me bit about that. So
Well, like most cover-ups, I suppose it's depending on what it is, where it is, how dark it is, all that sort of stuff. A lot of the time, cover-ups is using the shape that's there and creatively coming up with something that will work with, it's like one of those psychology, like ink blots, like they
yeah,
hold it up. What do you see
yeah,
in this,
blending in that.
Yeah, and so some of those sort of cover-ups, the person has to kind of have a little bit of leniency.
Have to, yeah.
If they want it covered up successfully, you can give them a couple of options and go, well, we could do these things. This will fit really well over
Because it
that.
genuinely has to be double the size of the tattoo that you're covering up. Is that?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I've had cover-ups where I've actually like done a complete tattoo almost next to the thing that needs covered up,
Yep, yep,
and then I've used a darker section off to the edge of what I've done to cover up the small cover-up. So it might only be a little piece, and I've
yep,
done another piece, and then sort of shaded off from there, and I've got rid of the first image
yep.
with so it's not like it's sitting directly over the top. Again, that's another thing. Or taking the person's eye off. If something's really dark,
Yeah,
you want to draw them towards a lighter source. So if you do a cover up over that dark section, you need to draw them into like the new section you've done
yeah,
and have it actually like the negative space enough that their eyes now looking at the new
yeah.
space, they're not looking at the old.
Because it can be done very wrong. It can be
It
done
can be done really wrong,
as
and
you've.
they're definitely a creative. Um, if you can visually, um, I don't know really how to put it, but not everyone's cut out for cover. You've got to be able to look at the shapes
Oh, you
and
need
see
to.
what shape's going to work over the top of that. And I mean, man, I'm still learning every day,
Yeah,
and I will
it'd be
forever.
harder,
Like, there's no time you're ever going to stop learning when you're
especially when you're
tattooing
the
stuff.
artist in control. You've got this tunnel vision of how am I going to do that. But from an outside point of view, like you probably, if I showed you an image and said, "How could you do this?" You'd have a way to cover it up. But when a client comes to you and you've got that pressure and you're like, oh, it can make things difficult. But from what I've seen, you do specialize in cover ups as well, which
Yeah,
is great.
yeah,
So
I will.
as a more affordable alternative to getting laser, because a lot of people do. I mean, if you have an artist that may not be necessarily confident that they can cover up that particular style, you then have to go back to laser.
Yeah, I will always advise, like even one or two sessions of laser, it might lighten it up enough to like open your options
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yep.
Even if it lightens that black up enough to go, righto, we can bomb over this now and,
Yep.
and, and sort of have it be successful. I'll definitely won't do anything over anything that I would know that's just going to come showing through within
Yeah.
no time, and the person's going to be like, well, look fine on the day, but now a month down the track it's literally stuck its head back through
Yeah.
and it just looks like
That
muddy
happens.
and a mess.
That happens. So, but so you are definitely you can be trusted. You're good at that as well. So I think I'm very excited. I mean, I don't think I know I'm very excited for your studio. Keen to see when it opens. As soon as it opens, I'm keen to come, and I wouldn't mind getting a tattoo as well. I'd love to get a little coloured piece.
You seem to like your cactus, so we can do
Oh,
a little cactus piece.
I love cat. When I left, during the army, I was just obsessed. Especially, I think it's happened when I was younger. When I was younger, my nan, mum, sorry, my mum when she was a kid bought my nan some cacti,
Hmm.
and she like there's a few of them, a few different types, and my nan's a bit of a toughie or a hard ass, and she was like, "That's disgusting. That's ugly." So and this would have been back in the 70s, oh, probably the 80s. So she put it behind her shed, or yeah, behind her shed. And then years later, they went to move and they saw it, and it hadn't been watered, hadn't been touched, no love, and it was huge. So
Yeah.
my mum was like, "I want that." Took it home, and then I had a little wheelbarrow when I was a kid and had all these cactuses growing out. And I think towards the end of my army career, I felt like I needed some more because I was moving around a lot. So there wasn't much use for me to have plants because DVA, toll don't do plants. Although they probably do, but you probably have to put them in a box and it's just not
Yeah.
great. So,
I've always loved cacti, so it's sort of one of those things that's sort of being hot up here. Don't have to really do much with them
no,
at all. They get a bit of rain every now and then, and the heat just
they
they
get
just
a,
boom, you know.
yeah, they do really well. They don't need love, which I wish all things didn't need love. So, so yeah, no, I'm super keen, Spooks.
Yeah,
I'm really keen. So, I just wanted this opportunity to let people know that you are moving on in
yeah.
your adventure and to check out your shop, especially for those people that do have a passion for military, whether or not they're interested in getting a tattoo. It'd be great just to come see your brand new shop. And
Well,
do
yeah,
you mind
that's
if people just while you're tattooing?
absolutely, yeah, and that was part of it too. Like, you know, if people want to just come in and have a squiz at the collection, they're more than fine to do
Yeah,
that. If they're coming in for a tattoo, they've got something to look at too.
yeah,
And who knows, someone who comes in to look at the collection might inquire about a
yeah.
tattoo. Someone who uh, comes in for a tattoo may purchase something because I will have military stuff available for sale as well.
Can you
But
can you get
interesting
those
stuff. I'm not talking
pens? Can you get pens? Do you know those
the
pens that
bullet
are
pens.
yeah? Can you get
Yeah,
them?
yeah, I can get them. Yeah,
Yes.
but interesting stuff too. You know, not
Oh,
bayonets and stuff. Like not, you know, I'm not doing you know, your typical disposal stuff. Like
yeah. No, like
something
actually,
that someone would look at and go, "That's a cool piece," you know.
yeah,
So then it allows, you know, the option then that if they come for tattoo and they get to the front counter and they look in the cabinet and they're like, "I didn't intend on coming here and walking out
yeah,
buying that," but
yeah.
you know,
It's
gives them an
exciting. It's
opportunity to.
something that you don't see often, and it hasn't been done. I can't. From what I've seen, I haven't seen it done yet. So it's
No,
exciting, and to have
most of the time people would be, I suppose you would just think, oh, why would you mix a tattoo shop with a military theme? It's
yeah,
probably not what you would do. But I suppose being in like in Garrison City, I thought, you know, Garrison City tattoo
oh, it's people are crazy.
for
People are crazy for it,
mm,
and it's very interesting. And people should know about their history as well.
especially
Not only,
Townsville. And
oh,
a lot of people who
absolutely,
move here, a lot of army personnel that come up from, say, Adelaide or down south and from Darwin, you know, a lot of them don't know that, you know, Domain and all that was all aircraft hangars during the war. You know, all of Nathan Street,
yeah,
Dalrymple Road, all
yeah,
that was all, you know, that's just covered with bombers
yeah.
during the war, you know.
Oh,
So
far
it's like
out.
one of those things that I think it's interesting for them to, if they're going to be stationed here, it gives them
Yeah,
you know, a bit of a learning sort of curve of
absolutely.
local history,
I
you
think it's
know.
going to do really well, Spooks. I think it's different, and people don't like different stuff to begin with. So people will be questioning you, wondering why would you do that.
Yeah.
And I can tell you now, when it's doing well, and you're busy, and people are loving it, and you're hearing all these great reviews, those people probably go back into the shadows. Last thing I want to know is whereabouts will the shop be located?
So it's on Charters Towers Road in my dad's old real estate building
Yep,
that he traded from way back like over 40 years ago.
yep,
So I was kind of that was another sort of reason for sort of doing the shop. I had that opportunity there. You know, mum's getting on. She was deciding whether she was wanting to sell it, whether I would sort of look to do a, you know, rent buy agreement off her.
yep,
And I had to make a sort of decision. I thought, you know, like it'd be cool to keep that building in the family.
yeah,
Um, so I'm kind of locked into the position. Wasn't like I could go and sort of find another position. Really, it could have, but it was about keeping that
In the
building
family,
in the
absolutely.
family. And so that's 196 Charter Towers Road. So it's right next to Bike Fix,
Blackford's, yep,
which
yep.
is next to where Pizza Riviera has just moved from.
Ah, that little fork. Is it a fork?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's two bike shops.
yep,
Top Brand Cycles is on the
yep.
corner, I think,
Ah,
and then you've
yes, I
got
know the
Bike
one.
Fix, and I'm sort of slap bang between the two. So
Beautiful. Well, I'm sure everyone's going to know the location anyway. Have you got the signage out the front? Has it
not yet. That'll be the very, very last thing I do. Once that sort of goes up, you sort of know that people are going to be sort of pushing on the door and poking
100%?
their head in. Then,
Yeah,
so I sort of need to, wait till everything's sort of done, and then the signage will be the final thing to go up.
you
So
might find someone.
almost need to be trading that week and then have them come out and put the signage up, sort of thing. So like
True.
even
Yeah.
when it's the day it's gone on,
Yeah.
if someone opens the next day, that you're
That makes
running.
that
So
makes sense. So another one, your books. So if I wanted to be tattooed with you and start my sleeve, what are you booked out up until a particular date? Like when?
no, so I'm still taking bookings now,
Yep.
obviously, like with you guys, and yeah, anyone can book from now onwards as
Onwards.
much as they want. If
Beautiful.
they're wanting to get
Because I know
tattooed in the new shop,
you've
that's fine.
slowed down tattooing just for this period while the shop's being put together. So I know that your bookings will start picking up. Your
Yeah,
days, your availabilities will open up as well. So as long as people know that they can reach out to you, book in for those days. But look, thanks Spooks for taking this time out of your morning.
hmm
I hope to get this up before you launch that shop because I do want to get the good word out because you've been a big part of our studio since you've been here, and that's from August. And you've helped us out on Friday nights. You've mentioned that you're going to help. You will make some appearances in the future with our Friday nights and events and stuff.
absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to, you know.
Collab.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I hadn't seen Aaron for ages, and we sort of, started our whole tattooing career sort of together,
Yeah,
So it's one of those things I'd love to just keep being in touch with you guys
and
and all that.
Aaron is really focused on growing the tattoo community, growing the culture. So it'd be great in the future to collab the shops to come up with some sort of event,
Yeah,
especially with your beautiful military pieces and stuff. To do something, I don't know. I'm sure within the next couple of years we'll come up with something.
collab stuff's always cool.
But for you, I think it's just a matter of hit the ground and start. You've got to start running. So it's going to be great. I think
Yeah,
you're gonna love it. And to be your own boss is exciting. So thanks for chatting to us. And I do want to mention as well, you've got fantastic taste in shoes. So how good? How good?
our,
Yours are a lot bigger. I'm not sure why they're bigger or what that means, but they're a lot bigger than mine.
it's that was just a fluke, eh?
It was.
Yeah.
We definitely didn't talk about it.
I've done it with the miso too, where it's sort of going. It's like I had checkered bands first,
Yeah.
It's just
Oh.
like, I actually was looking. I was looking for black ones around, and not a single place down the ladder.
Ah. It's
So I
weird.
thought,
Hey,
well, we'll go with the Spicoli, Fast Times at Ridgemont High
yeah.
deal.
Isn't
So
it strange? The white isn't white. It's like a
off
yeah. It's like
canvas.
yeah.
Yeah, straight canvas color.
But thanks, Spooks, and
Awesome.
I look forward to seeing your journey. It's going to be great. So that's the end of Fat Chat. So we'll see you next time, mate.